Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome the Deputy Minister. Okay, you may all please sit down. Okay, I think we can start. Deputy Minister, Mr. Kenny Morolong, CEO of MTDA, Ms. Shweshwe Kru, Board Member of MTDA, Ms. Jeshri Betha, colleagues, management of MTDA and staff, Economic Development Fund beneficiaries, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. My name is Zuvukile Kashe. I've just been given a task of managing the program today. Just house rules before we start. The bathrooms, as you exit here on the right, there is gents and ladies bathroom on your right. We all know that when the program is in motion, our phone should be on silent. Can I also request that when we call on speakers, we clap when the speaker comes, we also clap when the speaker starts. We're not in a funeral. So I just, if you can please indulge me on that. So I will be then just running the program for today. I hope all of you have the program. Yeah, so someone said, look, someone accused me today, saying that I'm wearing like AfriForum people. I don't know if AfriForum people wear like this. I don't know whether to take that as a compliment or not. But someone did accuse me that I'm wearing like those AfriForum fellows. Yeah, so we'll start then our program with opening remarks and welcoming of guests. Ms. Jeshri Betha, over to you, ma'am. Round of applause, colleagues. We agreed.
Thank you, Mr. Kashe. The Honourable Deputy Minister in the Presidency, Mr. Kenny Morolong, Commissioners, representatives from the Competition Commission, esteemed contributors to the Economic Development Fund, grantees of the fund, members of the community and mainstream media, ladies and gentlemen, all protocols observed. On behalf of the Media Development and Diversity Agency, it is my great pleasure, and on behalf of our board chairperson, to welcome you all and to thank you sincerely for taking the time to join us for the official launch of the much anticipated EDF project report. The MDDA, as you may know, is a statutory development agency mandated to promote media development and diversity within the South African media landscape. Formed through a strategic partnership between the South African government and major players in both the print and broadcasting sectors, the MDDA has, since 2004, been committed to supporting the growth and sustainability of community and small commercial media across the country. Today marks a very significant milestone in that journey. The EDF Fund, established in 2007 through consent agreements with the Competition Commission, was born out of a pivotal investigation into anti-competitive practices in the media and advertising sectors. The Commission entrusted the MDDA with the very important responsibility of managing and administering the fund, an opportunity we embraced with purpose and dedication. The EDF project report we are launching today captures not only the outcomes of the initiative, but also the very powerful stories of resilience, growth, and impact on communities made possible through the fund. It is a comprehensive record of how these resources have been distributed and the real change they have fostered within South Africa's media ecosystem. Today marks a moment of reflection and progress, and an opportunity to share the journey of a transformative initiative born out of the need to correct historical imbalances in the media and advertising sectors. The EDF stands as a tangible commitment to advancing fair competition, inclusion, and equitable access in a space that has, for too long, excluded too many voices. As we unveil the EDF project report, we do more than account for disbursements and outcomes. We affirm our collective commitment to transformation. This report is a testament to what is possible when policy, partnership, and principle come together in service of the public good. It provides insight into the impacts made, the lives touched, and the groundwork laid for a more inclusive media ecosystem. Let this be a moment not just of reporting, but of recommitting to equity, to access, and to the vital importance of diverse voices in our democratic discourse. Thank you once again for your presence and continued support. We look forward to sharing this journey with you. Thank you very much.
One of the challenges of people that have challenges with height is that we always have to adjust this mic upwards. So please mind me. Thank you very much, Jesse, for that. Now we heard that we are welcomed. In Xhosa, they normally say when you are welcome, you must take off your jacket, put it there, take off your hat, but please don't take off your shoes. But you are welcome now officially by a board member. So let me not, without wasting any further time, let me allow then the CEO to just briefly tell us in terms of the purpose of today, why we are here. CEO, over to you. Round of applause, colleagues. We've agreed.
Thank you very much, Date Kashe. I think then we should say they should take off their blankets. The minister did say we must ensure that we teach you Sesotho. I would like to greet the Honorable Deputy Minister Morolong. I think a champion of the sector, development, community media, as well as press freedom as we know it. I would also like to greet the chairperson of the AIP, the chairperson of the ACM or Chamber of African Media or African Media Chamber, as well as the members and chairperson of the Black Media Owners Association. I would also like to greet the Competition Commission, its leaders and representative here. I would like to take this opportunity to also greet the representation that and the support from the community broadcasters. I've seen the chairperson of SACRO amidst us, and greetings to all those who have interest in the development of media and more specifically community media in the country. I'll greet my colleagues from the MDDA and the rest of the colleagues that represent other government entities who have joined us here. My task really is very simple. It is to tell us about the purpose of today's event, which I think the chairperson of the board member of the MDDA representing the board, Mejeshri, has given us. We also appreciate the representation of the board of the MDDA. I should never forget the board of the MDDA. So thank you very much and welcome Mejeshri as well. The Economic Development Fund has been a fund that the MDDA has been managing for the past few years. I think in all fairness, we need to also indicate that there have been some challenges in the expectation that the community media publishers more specifically expected out of the fund and the delivery of the fund. I'm happy to say that we are on the eve of the close out of this Economic Development Fund with just bursaries for disbursement left. However, I will leave my colleagues who will get into the detail to share further information on that. I also want to say that while there are challenges within the print sector, more specifically where community media is concerned, the MDDA continues to look at avenues and opportunities to support community broadcasters, including most recently an establishment or support for audit circulation or audience numbers for community publishers. This is one of the key pillars that will assist in ensuring that the sustainability within the community publication and that you do have support and the tool to be able to reach out to advertisers. I think after many years of working through this Economic Development Fund, from its establishment, I'm sure Mekarabo will give you details of that, to where we are now, and we are providing this report, there have been questions on how have the funds been utilized, both from the community media sector, but as well as the funders that have contributed to the establishment of the Economic Development Fund. This report will be able to answer all of those questions and provide you with information of how this fund was established. I think while there might be some questions, concerns in how the expectations were unmet, the impact has been massive on many of the beneficiaries of this fund. And I would hope that once we have read and familiarized ourselves with the report, it will provide us with an opportunity to look also at opportunities of how we can support community media collectively. We have to do it together, not just the function of the MDDA. I think today then marks a significant milestone in the work of this Economic Development Fund, and we are grateful that the Deputy Minister is able to grace us in this discussion, as well as the Competition Commission sending someone who has been working on this fund since its inception to be able to provide all of those details. Kamanzwe Au, I want to say that I'm hoping that that is understood in context of the launch of this report, and thank you very much for joining us today and for your support. Re lebohile haholo.
Thank you very much, CEO. One of the problems of having a CEO in the beginning of program, they talk about everything. They end up, narrating what's going to happen before the actual speakers come in and speak about what are they supposed to speak to. But thank you very much. So now we will then welcome Ms. Karabo, just to say before she actually comes to the podium. It's been a long road, long journey with, I think Karabo will talk to that, between MDDA and Competition Commission. It's not something that has happened yesterday, but we've been pulling each other back and forth until we got to where we are. And I do want to say before Karabo comes here that MDDA has really appreciated that collaboration and efforts between Competition Commission and its management and as well as its leadership. So as we welcome then Ms. Karabo Mutong, please take the stage, ma'am.
Honorable Deputy Minister, Deputy Minister Morolong, Board Member of the MDDA, Ms. Petha, CEO of MDDA, Ms. Sheshweku, and my favorite people in the room, the beneficiaries, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. It is both a pleasure and a privilege to be standing here before you today and welcoming you to launch this Economic Development Fund report. This moment marks a significant milestone in our ongoing journey as the Competition Commission to advance economic transformation, promote inclusive growth, and ensure that our economy works for all South Africans. As the Competition Commission, our mandate is clear: to promote and maintain competition in the South African economy in a manner that balances efficiency, innovation, as well as fairness. But we are also acutely aware that the market outcomes do not always favor those who have been historically excluded, particularly small and medium firms black-owned businesses and women. This is where targeted economic interventions, such as the Economic Development Fund, play a critical role. The EDF was established as part of a settlement agreement that was concluded between the Competition Commission and 15 respondents in the media and advertising sector who were found to have conducted or engaged in anti-competitive conduct. Usually, as what the Commission would do is that the Commission would impose penalties. And the full penalty will then go to the National Treasury and it would form part of the fiscal. However, what we found was that there was very little that we were doing as the Commission to try and redress and to help help those that had been affected by the conduct to move forward. And so rather than simply imposing a financial penalty in this regard, the Commission sought to deliver remedies, right, that could deliver real measurable benefits to the South African economy. And this is what we are increasingly trying to do as the Competition Commission. We are looking at remedies that seek to redress those that have negatively been affected by anti-competitive conduct, and remedies that foster market entry for emerging players. And the EDF has been one such remedy. The Competition Commission, I always say, has a constitutional and legislative mandate to promote fair and an inclusive economy. And in fact, the EDF has given life to this objective. It has ensured that we support new and existing black-owned and women-owned SMMEs in the media and advertising sector, enabling supplier development and advancing skill development and youth employment. Today, the report that we are launching tells the story of progress. It outlines the evolution of the EDF, its scope, its implementation, lessons learned, and the lives that it has been impacted. I think for me, some of the key highlights of the EDF has been the allocation of close to 14 million to support new startups in the media and advertising sector, and just over 5 million to support existing black-owned enterprises. The training and upskilling of these SMMEs in the area of media and advertising business fundamentals, including working capital management and human capital processes. The fund also invested over 10 million rand towards bursaries for black students that wanted to study towards a qualification in media and advertising, and just over 3 million towards post-qualification experience. These results underscore a catalytic power of competition policy when aligned with developmental goals. Initiatives such as the EDF are rooted in the Commission's commitment in public interest. These initiatives embody the Commission's broader vision to foster a more dynamic, diverse, and inclusive economy that enables long-term competitiveness for firms that would otherwise have been left behind without initiatives such as the EDF. I would like to take this moment to acknowledge the role of the Competition Tribunal, who is the custodian of actually agreeing and ordering or approving the orders. So the process is that the Competition Commission would propose a settlement agreement. They would engage with the respondents, propose a settlement, and the settlement would need to be concerted by the Competition Tribunal. And so we'd need to go and argue, Deputy Minister, before the tribunal, why is it that we want the penalty, or we want a particular development of a particular fund. And so the Competition Tribunal plays a very critical role in the yes or the no, you know, of some of our recommendations. And so we really would like to acknowledge the Competition Tribunal in upholding these public interest principles and enabling the Commission to design innovative and forward-looking remedies. While we are encouraged by the progress that has been made to date, we are equally clear-eyed about the work that lies ahead. We are aware that South Africa remains one of the most unequal societies in the world. Competition policy must continue to evolve as an instrument of equity, and the EDF is a living example of how this can be achieved. The EDF is a reminder of the outcomes of our work, of is a reminder that the outcomes of our work must be felt not only in the boardrooms, but in communities, on shop floors, and in the informal economy. As we look to the future, the Commission will continue to advocate for structural remedies that are catalytic in nature, not only correcting past harms, but laying the ground for a more dynamic and inclusive economy. In closing, let me thank those that have contributed to this work. Firstly, to the firms that have honored their commitments. I always say if they had not done what they had done, we would not have the EDF, and I'm not promoting anti-competitive conduct, I'm just saying. The MDDA, under the leadership of Ms. Shweshwe, who administered the fund on behalf of the Competition Commission, the partnering tertiary institutions, the Association of Communication and Advertising through Red and Yellow, the Nelson Mandela University, and the Northwest University. Our private sector partners who have opened doors to some of the EDF beneficiaries, and lastly, but definitely not least, the beneficiaries who embraced this opportunity and took on what was provided. We are proud of what we have achieved, Deputy Minister, but even more, we are inspired about what is possible. May this report not only inform, but may it spark renewed dialogue, may it inspire collaboration and ignite actions towards a fairer and more inclusive South Africa. And in keeping with how the President concludes all our family meetings, I thank you.
Thank you very much, Karabo. I think one thing I must just emphasize in your speech is that the support for this fund has been 100% black organization and also black individuals that had received a bursary. So, and I know one of the difficulties we were having was that you will get someone called David Smith as a recipient, and now we're sitting around the table, we're saying, hey, this David Smith, is this person black? Is this person white? Because, I mean, now, as a country, we have evolved. The names now actually don't mean anything because everyone can get any, so we'd have those challenges, and we'd always have to verify with an ID just to, you know, check and confirm that indeed the individuals that we're about to support have been black individuals. But also importantly, the organizations has been 100% black organization. And as Karabo had said, was to ensure that there was a redress and making sure that, you know, the transformation objectives have been achieved. But I think, Karabo, I don't know if we would be bad people when we would say that we have no problem in anti-competitive behavior. I don't know if we would be bad people if we were saying that. We don't have a problem, Tina. If there's uncompetitive behavior, it means that that money, that bad money is going to come and do good deeds. So we maybe Competition Commission has its own objectives, but where we are sitting, we are fine with that. Now I think, colleagues, now we are actually about to come to the crust now. I think this was just good way of starting, but we're going to the crust where we are really going to present now this animal that we are talking about here. We'll go, Mike will assist in taking us through, and I think this is an important element, and I think DM, I know you know that we do work, but here you will really see the real work that we do as the organization. So I think we would then get Michael just to take us through the report. And I want to say this, colleagues here, that there is an opportunity for Q&A. So please, if you have questions, please write them down. After this session, we are going to have a session from beneficiaries, and then we'll have a quick Q&A questions, and then we'll respond to that before the DM gives the keynote address. So I think with those words, Mike, over to you, sir. Round of applause, please.
Thank you, Mzu. Morning, everyone. I would like to first start by thanking you for your time and your presence here today. We really, truly appreciate it. Welcome to the members of the MDDA board who are present with us today. Our CEO, Masheshweku, Deputy Minister Mr. Morolong, Karabo Mutaong from the Competition Commission, beneficiaries of the Economic Development Fund, members of the media, Economic Development Fund contributors, industry partners, colleagues, and all interested parties who are here today. It's my privilege this morning to present and take you through the Economic Development Fund report. It comes off the back of many, many individuals who've worked over the years within the MDDA administering this fund. And I think that that must be noted. I'm coming right at the back end, and I have the honor and the privilege of presenting the work that has been done. This report highlights the MDDA and EDF's key achievements, including the positive impact it has had on over 37 SMMEs, 60% of which are youth-owned, 50% of which are female-owned, and its contribution to gender empowerment cannot be discounted. It details the strategic investments we've made through education, through the bursaries, which the MDDA and the Competition Commission view as a long-term investment and solution with the biggest potential impact for the growing leadership and change and innovation within the industry. After 5 years of meaningful contributions, measurable impact, the EDF fund will conclude in 2025. The final bursaries have been allocated, and the last 2 SMMEs are in the process of completing their funding cycle. All right, with that said, let's get into it. Some historical context and background. I think the speakers before me have adequately covered how the fund began and where we started. I think just to add that the Economic Development Fund is a transformative initiative which was aimed at creating a more inclusive and diverse sector, media sector in South Africa. Now, established in 2017 from the funds allocated by the Competition Commission after findings of anti-competitive practices among media companies, it was a process that started in 2011. Now, some may ask, why did the call for funding that we've highlighted here only begin in 2022? It must be remembered that on the establishment of the fund, for the first 3 years, contributors to the fund made payments on an annual basis. So the fund only came to its full entirety of the amount of 39 million, which is the total of the fund, at the end of that 3-year period. At that time, we had entered COVID-19, which hampered on the ability of the MDDA to then administer those funds at that point in time. In the historical context, it took us about 1.5 years to get out of that. So in 2022, that's why the call for funding for applications began. So if anybody has that doubt as to what happened and why there was a gap, that is why. So the objective of this funding was to stimulate economic expansion and transformation, as I mentioned. And so it was vitally important that we support and promote Black-owned small media and advertising entities. These entities are a necessary vehicle to implement a long-lasting impact in the communities and regions in which they are based. And we looked nationally, not just regionally, so that you can have the greatest impact throughout the country. And we looked across the different sectors of the various industries that were found to have been found with anti-competitive practices. The EDF program is not just funding media businesses, it's also shaping the future of the industry and empowering the next generation of leaders. With a commitment to driving transformation and stimulating job creation, the startup and sustainability programs have made a significant impact. A key component, however, to the EDF includes the funding of bursaries for media and advertising students, which we viewed as a critical long-term investment for shaping industry leadership and innovation. It will take time, but as those young graduates move through the system, they're going to become the future leaders of this sector. And that's critical. It's a critical component. By providing these resources and educational opportunities, we help to build a media landscape that better represents and serves the South African people. So let's get into the numbers. These are the top-level high key numbers of the EDF fund. The total contributions to the fund were 39,146,087 rand. That was what was received in total from contributors over the period, the last contribution of which was received earlier this year, in fact. So there was a delay in some of the contributions, but the majority was received by 2020. Of that, 37 SMMEs were funded. We received 231 applications upon the advertising of the funding. This was for both startup and sustainability. 60% were youth-owned, and this reinforces our commitment to fostering the next generation of leaders in the media and advertising industry. 16 of these SMMEs took part fully in the mentoring program. There were 19 originally, but 16 completed the program. and that was in the financial management, HR and business and strategy mentorship, looking at how they can grow their businesses and truly create a sustainable and impactful business and start to reshape the media landscape. 50% of these were female-owned, and then the last stat is we've awarded over 80 plus bursaries across 3 institutions, being Northwest University, NMMU, and Red and Yellow Creative School of Business. In terms of the contribution or the allocation of the fund, based on the funding principles in the agreement that we had with the Competition Commission, this is the framework upon which the fund was allocated. Of the 39 million that I mentioned, 40% of this went to startup capital. And it must be said that these are already organizations that were in existence. This capital was to inject the ability of those organizations to further grow their operations. And I'll get into exactly what those areas were that we funded, the specific things that were funded by the EDF when it comes to those organizations. 30% of the fund went to bursaries, just over 10.5 million. 15% to sustainability funding, 10% for post-qualifications, and 5% for mentorship. So that's the breakdown of the fund. This is in the report, so you can go through it in detail if you like. It's the high-level kind of overview of the funding. If we then look at the funding criteria, and these are the key components, it's not all the components, because beyond the criteria that are on the screen now in terms of what we looked at for startup beneficiaries and sustainability beneficiaries is obviously compliance. Tax compliance, compliance with your organization in terms of your directors being registered, not having criminal records, all your records being up to date, and being registered on the CSD. We supported black-owned businesses. You had to be black-owned. Small media or advertising agencies who are seeking startup capital or operational investment. You must have been earning an annual turnover of 500,000 to 5 million. So if you were over 5 million or under that threshold, you were automatically excluded from being accepted for the funding. And the businesses obviously had to be in operation for a minimum of 2 years. So I think just to put to bed that this isn't like someone who just came up with an idea today. They're people who are already practicing, and especially after the COVID-19 pandemic, a lot of these organizations were hard hit in terms of their ability to earn and make revenue and to grow their businesses due to that lockdown process that happened and the subsequent economic conditions that we faced after. So if we look at the areas of support that we had for the startup businesses, and startup and sustainability funding, this included salaries, which enabled the investment in talent and the retention of skills. It included office space, which secures a professional environment for their operations. Capital expenditure, which allows for the acquisition of essential tools and technology that's necessary for business growth, including equipment, furniture, and machinery. Operational expenditure, which ensures that core operational costs are covered, such as printing and office supplies, stationery, and that these are adequately covered, which gives some comfort, enables them to begin focusing on business development and expanding their network. And the purpose of these targeted funding conditions was to ensure that every investment contributed directly to the development of sustainability of the media organization or venture or agency ventures that were funded. So the organizations were able to then use this funding to ultimately grow and expand their operations. Some of the SMEs and beneficiaries are present today, and we'll hear from them in a little bit later. 2 of them will come up and speak. And I think their stories are inspiring and interesting, and they're not without challenges. And they're not challenges that they still have to face within the sector. It's not all roses, but there are positive and forward developments. So under the Startup Funding Program, these are the organizations that were funded, the 19 organizations that were funded. I won't go into every single one of them, but I'll let the slide pause for a few seconds so that you can grab 1 or 2 of the names that maybe some of them are familiar to you. And I'll take you through 2 of the startup funding beneficiaries, just who they are and what they're about, right? And the same for sustainability funding. Okay, the first organization is LP Media House. They're a full-service PR and marketing company specializing in content creation, digital marketing, and strategic partnerships, and engage their audiences to drive growth. Struggling with unemployment and limited income from their magazine, LP Media House needed the capital to scale their business. The EDF's funding in May 2022, and they signed their contract in August 2022 and only received the funding in September, was a game changer for them. It enabled them to rent office space, acquire essential equipment, and hire 3 young black interns. This support was instrumental in professionalizing the agency and driving its future success. So in brief, that's what they're about. In the report, there's a bit more detail on this beneficiary. Khoshadi Media, female-owned. They specialize in web development, paid advertising, and content development services for small and medium businesses in South Africa. And their vision is to be renowned as a brand that builds growth and provides valuable on-the-job training for young professionals, creating a lasting legacy of innovation and support. They envisioned creating a production company with a strong digital presence and sought funding from the MDDA and the EDF to bring this vision to life. Their successful application provided the capital needed to establish a professional office, invest in a state-of-the-art equipment, and benefit from the EDF mentorship program. All right. In terms of the sustainability funding, these are the 17 organizations that were funded, 18 organizations that were funded, sorry. And you can take 30 seconds to look. The presentation will be shared for those who are worried. You don't have to grab it. So will the report. It will also be available on the MDDA website later this afternoon. So if you don't grab it, it's okay. You can always come afterwards and ask me as well if you'd like to look at it. Okay. In terms of these organizations, the first one that I'd like to highlight is Artsake Productions. It's a film and television production company specializing in the creation of African media content, telling unique African stories. Their aim was to produce groundbreaking movies that resonate on an international scale, showcasing Africa's rich storytelling abilities. And their goal was to impact these global audiences and elevate the perception of African cinema. The EDF support provided a transformative moment in their business, allowing them to purchase essential equipment, pay salaries, and sustain their operations. They also invested into intellectual property, which they were later able to sell. So they developed concepts that they then could sell into other media houses and gain additional funding. The financial boost helped them to retain their staff, especially after the COVID-19 pandemic. So it was an essential part of their development and enabled them to develop a feature film in the end, which they then subsequently had go to air. The second entity that I'd like to highlight is Metro News. They're in the Free State, in the Mangaung metropolitan area. To ensure their long-term success, they focused on developing a robust online platform along with their print publication and expanding their digital media presence, as well as their streaming on social media platforms and YouTube. This shift aimed to attract their advertisers and their investors and secure the future of Metro News in a rapidly evolving media landscape. The high cost of printing posed a significant barrier to entry, and they were really struggling at the time in which they applied for funding from the EDF. And this funding helped them to cover these essential expenses, printing, distribution, rent, and just give them a crucial boost, especially after that COVID period. And they're still in operation today, so that's a good sign. As mentioned earlier, we implemented a mentorship program for all the SMMEs that were funded to really give them a boost and help them to put in place structures and systems and gain access to knowledge that would enable them to really grow and scale their businesses. To this extent, we appointed 2 service providers, that being Tashfin Holdings and Cyber Digital. And Tashfin Holdings conducted financial and human resource management mentorship to these young black-owned startups and in the media and advertising sectors. This partnership supported these emerging businesses who were awarded the startup funding to equip them with essential skills to survive and to thrive. I think survive is the wrong word. Thrive is the right word. The mentorship program was designed to tackle some of the gaps and the inefficiencies that were within a young growing business. You face challenges, and often these challenges are beyond the scope of your lens. Your lens is in the day-to-day. And so the mentorship was designed to really help take you out of the small box and the environment that many of these SMEs were in, and really give them that insight into business practices and the way in which they could grow and enhance their business operations. We focused very strongly on financial literacy. in this program to make sure that they're able to budget, they're able to have proper cash flow management in place, and have a proper capital cycle management in terms of replacing of assets and various things that contribute towards a business. A lot of the businesses you would find, for example, if they have a printer, it's when the printer's about to die is when they realize that they need to start replacing the asset. And at that point, the capital that they have on hand is not enough to replace that asset. So this funding was instrumental in terms of making sure that the effective planning is there from the business cycle, so that you understand that in 3 years you need to replace this, and you begin already putting away towards that asset way in advance, which helps then to strengthen that company long term. So this program mentorship also helped to address key challenges such as talent acquisition and retention, and to understand key things in labor regulations. A lot of them struggle with basic contracting that leaves them vulnerable to ending up being taken to court ultimately for unfair labor practices upon dismissal or non-renewal of a contract. So part of it was the key kind of exposure to an understanding with regards to labor relations and human resources. In terms of Cyber Digital, they were the other service provider. They looked at media and advertising business fundamentals and the growth of the startup beneficiaries through a meticulous 12-month program. So they looked at the entire business plan. They looked at the key strategies that they have in place for marketing and business development, and took the SMEs through their own process of developing and enhancing these resources for their business. So each SME was tailored and structured specifically for their context and the area in which they operate. And I think that this provided them with the capabilities to ensure that they're able to participate more effectively in the industry and to begin to get more business. You can't sit as a business and hope that somebody's going to come and use you just because you have a door that's open. You actually have to have a lot of pieces in play in order for you to continuously have a pipeline of sales and investment. And this program really helped the SMMEs to structure that. Then in terms of the bursary program, I think this is the last kind of area to highlight. This program has proven highly impactful in supporting the next generation of industry professionals and leaders. Through this program, eligible students were funded in their studies, tuition fees, textbooks, laptops, and stipends being covered, so that they can really focus on what they're there to do, which is to get a degree. And you can see this in the results. Some of the students, and obviously you'll never get 100%, the majority of the students, their marks actually improved upon receiving funding as opposed to the marks decreasing. And that just shows that, once you have that security of accommodation, tuition, and the resources you need, you can actually thrive. And many of these students come from disadvantaged backgrounds, and I think that it's a critical intervention on behalf of the EDF. A lot of the students have successfully graduated. There are a couple that are in their final year now, finishing off in 2025, and there's a couple of students who we have funded with what remained of the bursary funding for 2025. And this I think, is one of the lasting legacies. You always look at a project such as the EDF and you say, okay, there was this impact immediate, there was this impact that helped to grow this, and then what's the long-term impact? 30 years from now, where will that young graduate be, and in what position will they be within the media industry? And I think that was one of the key critical thinking, thought processes behind bursary funding. If I look at it from my side and when I administer it, and you hear the students' stories, I'm getting old. I've long lost my hair like Mzu. We've got, and he's not as bad as me. But we're not going to be here forever. And there's many in the room I can see when I just look. You're seniors. You're professionals. You've been here for a long time. But who's going to take your place? Who's going to be that next generation that defines a new landscape? It's changing rapidly, and these graduates are the future. So I think worth mentioning is just the institutions that we partnered, and we partnered specifically across different regions so that it's not all concentrated in one province. This reduces the need for students to have to travel, relocate in order to commit to their studies. So we partnered with Nelson Mandela University in the Eastern Cape, Northwest University here in the Northwest, and then via the Association of Communication and Advertising with Red and Yellow Creative School of Business in Cape Town. So that is kind of where the bursaries went. Just over 80 students and the final tally will be at the end of 2025. And at that point, that's where I'll conclude this presentation. Thank you very much for your time.
I wanted to make sure that it does not only reflect Nelson Mandela, there's also Northwest University. So there's Northwest University, and there's also Red and Yellow, which is in Gauteng. It was very important, that one. It's a very important political statement. Thank you very much, Mike. Mike, I think that I must help you. I think you were a bit rude when you said people are old. You never say that people are old. I was told you never say that, especially with ladies. You can never say ladies are old. So I must teach this man. And thank you very much, Mike. I've never seen him wearing a tie. I think he takes you guys very serious. The fact that today is wearing a tie and is sitting in front of you, I think it takes this session very serious. Just to say that I think when Mike was presenting, I remember when he joined the organization, because he was writing a lot of emails, and in the emails it was Michael Smith Wade, and people started calling me and saying, hey man, who's this Michael Smith? I think there's a forensic auditor in MTTA. I'm saying, why? There's this white guy that he keeps on sending us emails and calling us here. So I had to calm people down and say, no, he's an employee of the organization. He's not a forensic auditor. And I think Mike has really assisted the organization to where it is today. So now, as we welcome the beneficiaries, I think the ones that, I think Mike did indicate that some, we only have two, just to make reflections. We could not get, due to time constraints, we were not able to get everyone, but I think we've got two from Cardinal Blanc, and also from Touch SA Marketing Solutions. Is it two gentlemen? Or is it one? Yeah, I'm saying two of you. Gentlemen, please, as you make your way here, please, let's give them a round of applause. Oh, there's also a laptop as well. Oh, okay. Hey, I think they also want business here as well. Hey, the way they are bringing laptops, hey. All right. So I must give you the space, gentlemen.
Yeah, I think it's going to be my operation.
How many minutes? Please don't be too long. Okay. Okay. All right, go ahead.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Mpho Disemelo. See, it's been misspelled in the program, but that's fine. Mzu said we're from Cardinal. The full name of the company is, full name of the company is Cardinal Black Inc. It's a digital media creation company. Forgive me if I'm not too clear. I took some painkillers this morning. On Saturday, I had a meeting between Stupid and a power tool, and it went through my arm. So, but I'm here. Michael Strong armed me to come speak. He said we can't have one speaker only. There must be at least two. But anyway, Cardinal Black Inc. I'm representing the owner and founder of the company, Klengiwe, who's a black female. She founded this company because she wanted to create digital media for ECD, early childhood development, because she had a toddler, and every time she looked at programs online, COVID and everything, as it's been mentioned, every time she looked at programs online, it was Peppa Pig, you know? And there was nothing African, nothing in our own languages, nothing that spoke about us. I mean, we're an African country, and there's so many cultures and languages within our own country, not just the whole of Africa, but there's so little media that caters to us. And she applied for the funding for EDF so that she can further this goal of getting this media out there, and to also inspire other content creators from here that it's not just about it's not about copying other cultures, Americans and maybe Europeans. We also need our own stuff so that the children will be able to continue our cultures. I mean, some of our languages are dying, like Motswana, but there's so very few people that are here in Joburg, but we want Strand. And for the kids as well, they go to all these schools where they only taught in English. So they're gonna have kids who don't know how to speak their own languages. But anyway, how the fund assisted us, we were able to professionalize our operation in terms of equipment, getting office space, and also bringing on collaborators. For me, personally, the positives or the real gains was not necessarily just the funds. The real gains were in the mentorship and the coaching. I discovered with interactions with the other beneficiaries that structure is very lacking in a lot of us as entrepreneurs, young black entrepreneurs. We lack structure, especially financial education. So that helped us a lot, and I even made a suggestion in the post review that MDDA asked for in the report. We made a suggestion that perhaps if this program continues in future, those are the things that they should implement first before they hand out the money, so that you're able to utilize the money to the maximum of its ability. So, like us, for instance, what we found is that we use the money for what we saw immediately as what we needed. But with the coaching and the mentorship, we saw that we could have used it a hell of a lot better if some of the skills that we attained during that mentorship and coaching, if some of those skills we had attained them earlier, we could have used that money, we could have stretched it a lot longer and used it a hell of a lot better. So for us, that is what we got from it. And I'm really, really grateful to MDDA, EDF, the Competition Commission, Minister, and all parties involved, including, what did you say, Mzu? The ones that were that were fined. Yeah. So yeah, yes, uncompetitive people. Yeah, we're really grateful. It has really put us on the map and pushed us, whereas we wouldn't have necessarily gotten that funding had it not been for this. We wouldn't be where we are now, a step further than where we were before. So thank you very much.
Thank you, everybody, for this great opportunity. I would like to start by thanking the board of MDDA and the EDF, the Competition Commission, and also been blessed with the very good presence of our Minister, Kenny Morolong. It's an honor to have you here as well. Also to thank our beneficiary as well. I would like to say, I would like to start by saying we have done exceptionally well, especially with the MDDA. We wouldn't have got this far. This fund has changed the landscape of South Africa altogether. We have unlocked many things, especially in our industry, as you know, that we are in the outdoor advertising industry. I think we took 5 years to actually get our first funding, whether we tried through different types of enterprises. So the aim was just to participate in the economy only with just one side. You can imagine, as we're speaking with such an investor market share of around 68 billion rand and 2% of black people. So it's been a very, very tough, I could say, journey for us. But I think the MDD have made it so well where we were able to participate accordingly. But I think a lot of people didn't understand how we're going to be building our first LED, which took us 5 years with such a small amount, but we managed to make it work because of over the past year, we were reselling for other big companies like your Prime Media and other stakeholders. So I'm going to be presenting our journey through this with just very lot of slideshows, but I'll try to keep it brief. Yeah, just to keep it quick as much as I can. I think I can't do the first slide. Just play it here. Yeah. Thank you. On the 27th March, the Media Development and Diversity Agency, MDDA, in partnership with the in partnership with the Competition Commission of South Africa, unveiled a state-of-the-art digital billboard at Soshanguve Crossing, strategically located in Obrimatala Street. And this initiative was founded through the Economic Development Fund, which is the EDF. And let me just do this. Yeah, because I was trying to project accordingly, yeah, so I can just be quick. All right. Well, I think you guys are going to miss a lot of pictures there where we're going to be showing you based on my brief. So let me just speak from the heart. Well, outdoor advertising is a very, very critical industry where we are able to tell our stories. You know, when you grew up in a township where you only see alcohol, you know, advertised on the road signs and so on. So it's been my journey to actually, whatever that I've been learning through the government, because as I'm sitting here today, starting from your basic registration of a company, what I did is I've been following all the government enterprises. If they say there's a seminar where they teach you about something, I think all my academy is through the government. And I saw an opportunity, and then it actually helped us at this stage to be where we are. So the aim was to see such information being spread out to the community, not just alcohol and other fun things. I needed more information to be, you know, when a boy child or a girl child going to school, they can see something that is so inspirational, or they can see their brand that it's, you know, that they grew up seeing it in their community. And with this funding, we were very fortunate to now build our first site, but it was not easy, guys. I must tell you, I think this project took us, I think, a year. And through that year, remember now, we're dealing about compliance. I think the main thing is about compliance. As you know, there's bylaws, there's a lot of things with the city that you have to make sure that you are compliant to participate accordingly. And at this stage, we managed to comply accordingly with the city, and then that's when they granted us the opportunity to put our first site. And at this stage, we also managed to bring about your creative guys. You know, there's people who do your corporate identities and so on. So we were able to bring in about one employee just so we can work, and winning our first deal which is around ShopRite. We got ShopRite, but we never got ShopRite through the agency. We got the ShopRite directly, we went directly to the client. And then the client just went through to the agency. Remember now, the budget has been utilized, which we call them media buyers. They are the ones that can actually choose your media owner, which size are we gonna be doing. So we're looking around 300,000 media owners in South Africa. So you can imagine now, if the brief is coming and you're just starting up and then they don't know you, it's gonna be a huge challenge. So I our aim was just to make sure that we speak directly to their clients and then just to introduce ourselves. And then that's how we got ShopRite. As we sit now, we're still struggling in terms of onboarding other clients, but we are very determined and very positive that with the very great support that we have from the state as well as with our partners from the board, we will definitely succeed. We do have a syndication partnership at this stage from Prime Media, which is we're very grateful from the CEO, where now if there's anything that relies to the township and so on, if there's any messages, they are able to showcase through our platform. So the syndication partnership, so far, it is taking shape, and you can see there's a really bit of participation in the economy as well. So guys, I don't want to take a lot of time, but I wanted to show you a couple of pictures there. Oh, no, we're projecting. Oh, just pictures. We are done, yes, just pictures. I talk too much. You know, guys, if you have went through this type of project, I tell you, I'll take the whole day. But let me just, all right. This is our town in Soshanguve crossing, in Soshanguve. And then this is how our, oh man. Guys, I don't know why, eh? All right, but it's fine. It's fine, it's fine. Thank you.
Yeah, here's the chief. I'm doing the pictures for you. I'm doing the pictures for you, chief. Here's the billboard and yeah. CEO, oh, CEO, you were there. Hey, CEO. Hey. Didn't know the CEO. Oh, I didn't know. Hey, CEO. Hey. Okay. All right. Okay. Thank you very much. This man was starting to market himself now. I could see that he's looking for business here. But just to say, colleagues and Deputy Minister and colleagues, to give you also context that we really struggled with this project. When this man got the site in front of the, what is that? It's Soshanguve crossing. The owners of the mall, which is a group of Afrikaner guys, wrote an email to us and said they want this man out of that place. They threatened us. We've never been threatened like that. They even told us at DM that, in fact, they are even going to go to the Sour Street because they know people there that we should take that billboard out of, he should not be there. He did not consult them. After several meetings of threatening emails, they threatened to take him to court, and he was worried that he had to get a lawyer. So there was another challenge there. And we had to convince them that indeed this was not necessarily, because this is just outside the mall, and this is an area that is obviously owned by the municipality. And one of the things that we did convince him, DM, is that this man, when he got this billboard, he was 32 years. He was a young man. He was in the youth sector, I would say that. He came and presented a concept to say that he wanted a billboard. We first looked at him. We were worried, Pella, these things are expensive. But I think we were bowled over by the passion and the concept. Because as he had said, I mean, this is a space where not anyone can get involved in. He came and presented the concept. We looked, but we saw the passion. And what also motivated us was that he was born in Soshanguve. And he wants this board to be in Soshanguve. So he wants to actively participate in the economy within his own township. So we did say when we were motivating that, I think it's a good initiative. And DM, I think that one is just to demonstrate that we have done well there. Please, a round of applause for me. But don't be jealous. Yeah. Okay, thank you very much. So, colleagues, now what we're going to do, we've got time constraints, colleagues. Please, let's be mindful of time. We are going to go through Q&A. Questions before DM. We are going to spend, we'll try and have allocate about 15 minutes at max questions. and then we'll respond to your questions, and then we'll allow the Deputy Minister then to deliver his keynote address. So I think now, where are the mics, colleagues? Mics? Okay. So we'll take questions. So how we're going to do this part of the program, we're going to take 5 questions, we'll respond to them, and then if there's a next phase of questions, we'll do so. But colleagues, let's please be mindful. Let's be succinct, straight to the point, and ask the questions. So I think the roving mic, okay, I can see the gentleman there. Okay, okay. Please, Bob, I can see you there. All right, over to you. And please, when you just say your name and where you come from, so that at least we know, and we're able to respond to you accordingly. Over to you, sir.
Good afternoon. My name is Steven Siachwe, publisher and owner of Mapepeza News Media and executive director of the Black Media Owners Association, non-profit company. I have 2 questions. The first one, it's regarding the support for sustainability in terms of existing media companies. We see that only 5.2 million was allocated. However, the investigation of the Competition Commission has concluded that most of the funding must be allocated to affected beneficiaries or affected media owners, which in that time was majorly local and community newspapers. So what happened now, we see that the fund has been allocated in its full entirety, but we need to just get clarity on why was there a small allocation for sustainability in terms of existing local and community media newspapers. And then lastly, it's in terms of, all right, the unfair practices in terms of the fund. We need to understand that if the fund was meant to empower black media owners, we want to see how it has actually created that impact post the investigation, because if the Competition Commission found that there was unfair practice and redress was meant to be done, but we still struggle to find ways to compete amongst our mainstream counterparts. We just want to see what redress has it done in order for us to actually compete better in the advertising industry, because a lot of things have happened post the funding, which alludes that the anti-competitive behavior still concludes. Even the Competition Commission is still having another investigation of the independent, the mainstream media, which is in the internet space, where Google and Meta are yet to be fined. So we would just ask for the Competition Commission to actually comment on that. Thank you.
Okay, next question. Don't worry, colleagues, I'm ready for you. I've got the people are going to answer here.
Hi, I'm Diane from Social TV. We focus on CSI, social impact and sustainability news, online platform. I love the work that you've done. This report is amazing. But really what I'd like to, 2 questions. One is around collaboration with other departments or other funds, because there are multiple funds that support small business. These are small businesses represented here today, but could we not deliver greater impact if we amalgamated those funds into that media space? Because this is a drop in the ocean. It's a powerful drop. It's an important one. But can we look at collaboration? The second question is around media standards. And while this is the Media Development and Diversity Agency, I think all of us in the room are probably aware of the MACG fallout. What are the standards that are upheld? It might not be competition, but what standards are we upholding? What etiquette, what guidelines do we have in terms of platforms such as those is it hate speech? Is it not hate speech? So I think that's something we also need to look at in terms of the room here today.
Thank you.
Thanks.
As it's still morning, okay, it's afternoon. You'll excuse me if I don't stand up. You use crunches, so yeah. The name is Cindy Sorantlabate from the Gauteng Network. I'm an online news content creator. we are a company that has started. It is now in existence. We are going a year now in existence. So yeah, we're still a young baby. But main reason why I want to ask 3 questions. One, companies such as mine, which are online and basically focus most of their content there, you find that we need a lot of softwares that predominantly are not even close to what criteria that MDDA uses, your 500,000 to whatever amount. You find we are most likely going to make around 30 to 40,000 rands at best. And that is one particular element, is how is that incorporation coming in for platforms such as ours, which are coming into the space. 2, softwares need payment on licenses. I'll give you one license, Canva. You find for Canva, for at least about 3-year subscription, you need as a small business or as a business set or in total for a full professional setup, you'll probably need about, is it $500 or what? Converted that it will be around 7.5 thousand. So these are the type of things where would make a great impact in such platforms which create content that is, because I am part of the news platforms, SANEF, Press Council, National Press Club, and so forth. But the fact is that the tools of working are a bit expensive for a business like myself. When you go to a bank, it's like, yeah, we don't see how this is profitable. Last question. MDDA, community news is, as rightly said by the gentleman there, in dire need of support. What are the responses to that? Because most people are reliant on community newspapers, and I know of 3 radio stations in Gauteng that have died off. One of them being VOT. I think that was Davidton Voice, and what was the other one? Tembisen, the newspaper. No. I did VOT is Tembisen, and the Davidton one. The Davidton Voice, and then there's the other one, I forget, it's in maybe it's in Ratanang or whatever, the metro. So these are community platforms that have suffered, and it's these platforms that are needed by communities, and how best is a plan to try and support and revive them. Two of these platforms no longer broadcast on the frequency anymore. VOT and Davidton Voice. They no longer have they don't have a broadcast anymore. Thank you.
Okay. I think that is it. Colleagues, can I please? Oh, okay. No, before you ask, Mhlekazi, colleagues, whilst we appreciate that, we're also getting some questions regarding MDDA. But I think our focus today should really be on the report and the EDF and what it has done. Otherwise, we'll find ourselves now deviating from what we had come here to do. Can we try, as far as possible, get questions that are related to what we're doing today? But we have noted the questions, but we just want to give this session, the respect that it deserves in terms of dealing with really the report that has been presented here today. Over to you, Mhlekazi.
All right. Thanks a lot. It's Moses Mutlani, BCM, and also Black Advertising Agencies. I think we welcome the Competition Commission. I think when this thing started, it looked like we won't go anywhere. And I think on behalf of the sustainability, I think we've touched base with the CEO on this, is that I think we need to look at the tools of the trade. As an example, a media buying agency needs about 300,000 for software for one user a year. So, and that's if you have 3 people in an agency using that software, that means you need about R1 million. So, and this is the companies that can help community media to sustain. So the more we have such going forward, and I think we spoke about the hub, which will engage further, because we'd like to bring solutions. We'll talk about the hubs that can assist in terms of us creating such systems in place so that sustainability can be addressed as well, not just from media side, but also from the buying side. Thanks.
Thank you very much. I think we can now take, oh, last one.
Good morning. My name is Tokolo Khotau from Imbizo magazine. Thank you firstly for the opportunity today. My question runs as we run a digital media. And I've noticed that in a couple of years ago, or even also in economic development, media was not mentioned, digital media specifically. And I'm surprised because we are in a 4IR world around the world, even though we are slacking because other worlds are talking about nanotechnology and we are slacking behind even though we are in the 4IR. So what I wanted to say specifically is that, so what is MDDA and EDF, the Competition Commission, how are they supporting digital media? The reason I'm saying that is because as a small company that has been running for 4 years right now, we had challenges recently because of the amount of money that we had to pay. If you know, also the gentleman said that if you have one user, you need almost $1 million to do that. I'm talking about cybersecurity, one of the most important things that was supposed to be paid for. ISO 9000 software and the SSL certificate. We're not able to pay for that. So due to that, we were not able to run the company for the last 2 months, meaning that we have lost clients because of that. So we're still suffering. So I would like, in that perspective, to say that can please MDDA add the category for digital media so that companies such as us can be able to not only develop the news and give people on the platform, but also we are an international company because we cover basically everything about the arts and culture in South Africa. Thank you.
Yeah, okay. Thank you very much. I think now we'll take, I'll get colleagues to assist with answers. Karabo, where's the roving mic? Just get one. DM will respond to one when he is two. Oh, the machine. Look, and see DM petty content. Yeah. So DM will respond to that. Yes, go ahead, Karam.
Thank you very much, everyone, for all the questions. I'm not going to answer them, Mzu, in any particular order, right? But I will try as much just to provide as much clarity. So firstly, I think what is important for everyone here to understand is that the EDF was created, as initially explained, as a fund emanating from penalties, right? Or part of a particular collision, right? And there was only a specific amount, and that amount is what then has been allocated and has been spent. And once that amount has been finalized, there is no longer an EDF. So I think that is very important. Well, not longer an EDF between the Commission and the MDDA, let me say, right? Because then we had allocated the MDDA, the 39 million odd in total, and we worked back to say, how are we going to spend this? And as Michael said earlier when he stood up, that we are really at the tail end of finishing the last of the disbursements, right? With the bursary allocations for the 2025 financial year. So I think that's very important to say this then, once we conclude those disbursements, this then will conclude our relationship or our MOU with the MDDA, particularly insofar as it relates to this particular EDF. Insofar as how the funding was allocated and the percentages in terms of what went to sustainability, what went to startups, right? So, as I've already indicated earlier, generally what would happen is that the commission would find respondents, right, up to, this is in terms of the legislation, will find companies up to 10% of their turnover. And so what the commission did at the time was to say, over and above the penalty, we want to create a fund. And so in creating that fund, or in coming up with the proposals of this fund, the commission then had to negotiate with the respondents. Remember that this is also their money, right? And you know, they also have a say in terms of how it was spent. And so it was agreed at the time between the commission and the 15 respondents that the funding, 60% of it will be allocated as such. 40% would go to startups, 15% would go to existing, which means the sustainability, 10% would go for graduates as well as for bursaries, and 5% would go towards mentorship, right? So this is what was agreed upon already when these negotiations were taking place. What happens is that once the commission and the respondents have reached an agreement, this agreement is then brought to the competition tribunal. So the competition tribunal in my world is seen as a high court, right? And the competition tribunal then presents and accepts that agreement and makes it an order. And once that order is there, we then all have to apply in terms of that order. And hence why, even at a later stage, when some of the industry stakeholders came to us and said, we feel that we need to get a portion of these funds, we told them it is not possible unless you approach the competition tribunal to reverse the order, and then only include you, and then only we can implement. So I guess just to answer the question as to why only a few, I think a small percentage was allocated to sustainability, that is the reason. And I think I must say that, and I said this to Kate as well, the competition tribunal processes are open to the public and to stakeholders that are interested, parties that are interested. So ideally, what would have happened back then, right, is that when this process was happening, when the commission and the respondents were negotiating and taking their proposed settlement to the competition tribunal, members that were interested, being other industry associations, print media, etc., would have then had an opportunity to come to the tribunal and say, actually, we also want to be involved. We also want to be acknowledged and involved in this fund. We also want to be allocated funds. And then at that stage, those negotiations again would have happened, and perhaps then there would have been an option for them to be involved. But like I said, of course, you know, due to lack of information and understanding of the processes, that did not happen, right? But I'm saying, and I'm inviting again everyone in future as program director to say, when these processes are there, I really encourage you to please avail yourself, make yourselves familiar with the processes. If you are not sure, ask, we are there, you know, so that we also make sure that when we in future develop such initiatives, we cover as many stakeholders as possible, because I was saying earlier, this is, I think, the first initiative of this nature that the Competition Commission has created. And so, of course, we were working with what we knew at the time, right? And there have been lessons learned, etc., right? On what has, I think, the impact, right? I think I must state that, and we all know this, the media sector is very diverse. That complaint was very limited to a particular sector of, sector of the media industry, right? Being broadcasting and advertising. And so, you know, sometimes I always say, when you are working with people that have deep pockets, they'll always find, once you close this loop, they'll open another one. You know, and as much as we have, you know, made an impact, you know, tried to impose certain restrictions, you know, conditions to these respondents particularly, and as a warning to other media houses to say, you need to comply with the provisions of the Competition Act, otherwise this is what will happen to you. We are seeing that things are changing, that the dynamics are shifting. Now, we are now moving into the digital space. Now there's even more problems there. You know, so as these things keep evolving, I think, and it's very unfortunate that as a regulator, we are always a step behind everyone. We're always having to chase, you know. And so, yes, we are trying to really regulate the space, but it's increasingly becoming difficult, and we are continuously trying to address the issues as and when they come alive. And you know, one thing was said by Michael here earlier as well, to say the impact of this fund will be seen in years to come. And one thing that we do as the Competition Commission, we conduct impact assessments and studies. And I was actually making notes to say, one thing that we need to do is in 3 or 4 to 5 years, we need to go back to the beneficiaries and see where they are, including the students, where they are and how this fund has impacted them. I hope I have covered all the questions, at least that were related to me. Thank you.
In fact, I think, Karabo, you've covered everything.
No, there's the online business and the issue around standards.
No. Deputy Minister will deal with that one.
Thank you, Mzu. I will only answer the question very briefly, indicating that please send us questions on info@mdda.org.za, and we will respond to them. The question of sustainability for the sector, both publishing and broadcasting, is one that also keeps us up at night. In fact, the DM at our earlier discussion said, make a plan, establish a fund for community media, both publishing and broadcasting. So a directive has been given, and we will have to go and see how we resource mobilize to ensure that we are able to intervene. The challenges will not go away. You are correct. At the end of the previous financial year, there were 216 community radio stations in this country. When ICASA published the list at the end of the current, previous, or the 2024-25 financial year, there were only now 207 broadcasters. The same could be said for publishers. We are very aware of the challenges, and I do want to say that we enjoy the support of the Deputy Minister in assisting us in ensuring those programs that are put in place and holding us accountable when we make these promises. I just wanted to briefly add there. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. So, colleagues, we are running out of time. I don't know if there were any pressing questions, or we move on now to briefly. Colleagues, please, I know when we ask these questions, we brief, because I had asked just 1 or 2 questions, and then we are closing the session. Yes, over to you.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Pat Mahlangu from Patton Brands. The question that I have is just around the involvement of the private sector in terms of setting up this fund. Were they invited to sort of contribute or to be a part of it? And the reason why I'm asking that is oftentimes when we have platforms like these, particularly that speaks to transformation of black people in the industry, right? It's always like an echo chamber of black people only. But we all know where the money is. The money is sitting with the advertisers. The money is sitting with media buying agencies, which are supposed to be the ones that are buying airtime from community media, buying airtime from these new established, I'd say, media platforms. So were they invited? If not, why?
Okay. All right. We're done. Oh, you want to take? Yeah. Karapo. Oh, TM will take it. Okay, colleagues, I think we oh, yes, ma'am.
Okay, thanks. It is indicated that of the 40 million allocated to new projects, that's about probably the largest percentage of what has been allocated to these projects. 37 projects were involved, SMMEs. And today we only had 1 SMME reporting. I'm sure there could be some already there present, but we have 1 SMME reporting, and in their report, they only got 1 advert, ShopRite, since they emerged. So I wish probably if we were to give an honest assessment of the initiative for particularly the largest percentage of the budget to the 37 individual units, can we arguably say that we have done a proper impact? I understand that, you know, as the leaders have indicated, that the impact will be seen in many years or in years to come. But given this modest assessment, can we arguably say that really are we?
That's fine. No, thank you. Thank you very much, colleagues. We'll attempt to respond to the two. I'll start with this, the one that you have responded. I think when the gentleman came and presented, he said ShopRite was his first. Yeah. Oh, my mic. Oh. Well, when it's this late, you can even hear my voice now. I think he had stated that ShopRite was the first client that he had received. Of course, he could not divulge others, but I know where I'm sitting that ShopRite is not the only client. He's got other clients, but I'm sure do you know, when you are in this platform, you're also careful of naming all your clients here, because people start looking at you and saying, Kanti, now you are there. Kanti, now you are there. So maybe it was strategic. It was his first client. So in terms of the impact, I think Competition Commission did state that they will do an assessment. Remember, impact also takes a while, so they will do an assessment, and perhaps you can engage with that in terms. But I think where we are sitting, we have seen the fruits. We have seen, and not all organizations could be here today. I mean, we've got many. I think, Micah, what is the total of the organizations? Huh? 37 organizations. Imagine if we had all 37 here, it would sleep here today. So we just brought 2 or 3 colleagues that were here and they were close by. So I think, yeah, let me leave it at that. What's the other? Oh, in terms of business, you want to take that one, Karama? All right.
Thank you very much. I think I do want to say that, remember, the respondents that were involved here are private entities, right? So I think their involvement, I guess, was at that level when we were developing the fund and how it's going to be distributed, etc. But one thing I do also want to say is, I mean, and just recently, the Commission undertook a study that looked at some of the challenges, right, that SMMEs, and we had already started with the beneficiaries of the MDDA, actually, some of the challenges that the SMMEs themselves are facing in the media industry, right? And we do have recommendations, actually, that require and call upon private sector to play a bigger role in supporting these SMMEs. Surprise knows, I've had to travel from where I am to go and sit in a meeting with Prime Media because of some of the challenges that he was facing, right, in terms of getting access to market. So we are active, we are calling on the private sector, and indeed we are trying our best to make sure that they come on board and play a role, because you are correct. You know, we can implement these EDFs, we can put money in SMMEs, but if the market is not open for them to be able to participate effectively also, right, there's participation at a very minimal scale, but there's effective participation. And what we are saying is that we want SMMEs to enter and effectively participate in the market. And that is our goal. And we are saying without the private sector's involvement and them committing, and I think that's what we want from them. We want them to commit, to be able to mentor, to have supply development programs, to be able to take these SMMEs and show them, this is how we do it, this is how you get clients, this is what you need to do. And these are the clients that we have, like the syndicate agreement with Prime Media. I mean, we had to get involved, and the MDDA had to get involved, but there is progress. It's slow, it's not as satisfying, it's not where we want to be, as quick as we wanted to get, but we are getting there. And we are saying, especially myself as from the Competition Commission, we are saying, knock on our doors. We are there. Surprise knows. He sends me a message, I contact him immediately. He knows this. And I'm saying to all of you, where there are challenges, remember where we said we are not able to know and understand where all the challenges are. And we rely on you as SMMEs in the industry to say, here is a challenge, here is a bottleneck, and let's see how we can engage with these stakeholders to help unblock some of these challenges. Thank you.
Okay. Okay. Thank you very much, Karab. But colleagues, the knocking on the door does not mean physical, ne? Because when you say knocking my door, Karab, you'll see people lining up there in Pretoria. It means you can send, you can communicate, and make sure you get information. Okay, colleagues, I think we are done with that session. Just to, before we welcome the Deputy Minister, under normal circumstances, the Deputy Minister would be introduced before he comes to the podium by a competent individual. So it's only left to me just to, because there is no competent individual that is supposed to come and introduce the Deputy Minister. We understand as government bureaucrats what I mean when I say competent. But just safe to say that Deputy Minister Kenny Morolong, those who know him, those who little bit about him is that he has been an activist at a very young age, being a leader of COSAS, leading COSAS and also climbing the ranks within the African National Congress. He was recently in the NYDA board, where he served a term, and also in the last administration he was also a deputy minister in the presidency. So this is his second term now in the presidency. So it's a second term in the new administration then as a deputy president. I know he comes from a very small town called Schweitzer Reneke. Yeah, very small town, not Mafikeng, Schweitzer Reneke. You know, people in provinces, they always want to come to the port side of the province. He comes from Schweitzer Reneke. Colleagues, please, as we welcome Deputy Minister, please let's stand up and round of applause, Deputy Minister to come here.
Thank you very much, Mzu. And good afternoon, colleagues. Let me just preface my address by indicating that I'm not feeling well today. The manager in my office, in the ministry, that I was not feeling okay, so he says to me, are you fine? Is this one not bringing? Oh. So I say to him that I'm not feeling well, and he says to me that perhaps we should apologize and cancel. So I said, no, I'm coming. Particularly because this is an important occasion in many respects. Many have spoken about the significant nature of the Economic Development Fund and the impact that it has on community media. And we have had testimonies this morning of the great strides that have been achieved as a result of this fund. But I also had an opportunity to listen to you, asking questions about the fund, its impact, and general about the sector. And before I delve into my prepared speech, allow me to deal with some of the questions and concerns that have been raised. But also let me preface the response by also indicating that on Saturday, the 3rd of May, we celebrated World Press Freedom Day, which is a day designated by the United Nations General Assembly to promote press freedom throughout the world, but also to remind governments all over the world about the need for governments to recognize the media as a lifeblood of every democracy and the need for us to protect media freedom. On the 4th of May, just after the celebration of the World Press Freedom Day, I had an opportunity with my team and the National Press Club to visit the family of one Zbusiso Ndlovu, a founder of a community radio station in Mamelodi called Capital Life, who has been missing since the 18th of February this year. He, alongside with her partner, have been missing since the 18th of February this year. We had an opportunity to meet the family of both the missing persons, but to also met them to convey a message of hope. But also we had an opportunity to engage the police on the work that they undertook, and we went public to indicate that we are quite content with the update that we got from the police and the fact that we are of a view that there's been significant progress with respect to the investigation by the police. And yesterday we heard that suspects have been apprehended, and I have just been told that they are appearing before the courts. I wish to restate the position that we stated when we were at the House, that gone are the days in South Africa where the media is going to be attacked by those who seek to undermine the very existence of the media as an institution that holds both the public and the private sector accountable. And under this government, and I'm glad that I also speak for the successive administration, we will never allow journalists to be harassed, to be censored, and or to be attacked. It will not happen under our watch. It will not happen in South Africa, because we subscribe to the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, particularly the declarations by the United Nations, the United Nations Declaration of Human Rights of 1948, particularly Article number 19. So we are quite encouraged by the progress made by the police, and we pray so much that Zbusiso Ndlovu and his partner will return to their loved ones safe. But let me also delve into a discussion that has occupied public discourse for quite some time. And this is a discussion about podcasting. And we must first say that this discussion is about, it's a moral discussion, but it's also a regulatory discussion. We have always said, as activists and as South Africans, that women, not just in South Africa, in Africa and elsewhere in the world, are not free. The fact that we have a panel here that is dominated by women is just a drop in the ocean. Women are not equal to men. Whether it is with respect to power relations, whether it is with respect to how women generally are treated in society. And we have also said that the women folk have suffered triple oppression at the hands of the erstwhile apartheid regime. They have suffered race, class, and gender oppression. So we have a responsibility as government to protect the rights of women, particularly because they are a marginalized population group. So the discussion is a moral discussion about whether it is correct for anybody to go on public and insult women. And whether we think because somebody else who's a woman has insulted men, whether we think that justifies for such insults to obtain. But the second discussion is about regulation. We have seen a proliferation of this podcast over the past 2 years. And you and I know that these podcasts are not regulated. And it is not the fault of the podcast users or the owners of this podcast to regulate. It is the responsibility of government. And you'd remember that in 2013, government said there's a need for us to review all white policies on communication. The 1998 telecommunication white policy, the 1998 e-commerce white policy. So government has been quite involved in looking at reviewing those policies. And that is why there is now a draft white paper which will indeed seek to provide regulations for podcasts. So that in the first instance, these broadcast-like podcasts should be able to carry the obligation of adhering to broadcast codes. But secondly, they should also be enjoined to adhere to advertising codes. And thirdly, they must also adhere to acceptable language standards. So this is the ongoing work of government to make sure that these podcasts are regulated so that we don't experience this abuse. Today we could be talking about McG. Tomorrow we could be talking about somebody else who is a podcast owner or a presenter whose utterances may border on hate speech. They may also border on infringement of rights of South Africans. So it is important that this draft white paper is finalized and socialized through cabinet processes. So without responding to insults that have been held against Deputy Minister Litsike by those who have forgotten where we come from as a country, Deputy Minister Litsike is an outstanding activist who have, over the years, been hailed for his activism against those who seek to undermine the rights of women and the rights of those who are less privileged. So we take serious exception to the insults that we have seen on social media. And that's why there's a need for this country to have a conversation about what is it that we want to do to build a nation that seeks to promote the very constitution that is premised on tenets such as human dignity, human rights, and human, or rather equality. So these discussions are discussions that must continue to ensue. A month or two ago, I had a meeting with CEOs of print and digital media in South Africa. And this was a consequence of a work that has been given to these CEOs working together with Government Communication and Information System to revitalize. Oh, thank you. To look at revitalization and the transformation of the print and digital sector. with the experience that we've seen of nice catch. So with the closure of newspapers and with the challenges that are confronting print media, we decided that there should be a team constituted by media houses and GCIS to look at how we can revive the print sector, how we can look at regulating the digital sector. And those discussions are ensuing. We will, in due course, receive a report on the state of print and digital media. And that report will also be, at an appropriate time, socialized with the processes of cabinet, so that government can be guided on how to contribute towards the sustainability of the print and the digital sector. We, however, expressed a concern about transformation, especially in the media sector. And I'm happy that I am raising this thing on the occasion of this important session where we are receiving a close-out report on the work that has been undertaken working together with the Competition Commission. Because when MTDA was established, it was established inter alia to look specifically into diversification and development of the media sector, particularly community media and small commercial media. And when I met with the CEOs, I expressed concern over the reluctance of the media industry to transform. And I specifically said to them, you want government to save a sector that does not want to transform at the expense of the overwhelming need of this sector to reflect the demographics of South Africa. So when we receive the report, we will really look as to whether or not there's been sufficient focus on transformation. And so I think in an attempt to answer the question about the need to support print and digital media, we say that this work is actually undergoing. And they need to just not look at support, but also to look at regulation. Program Director, the board of MDDA, the CEO of MDDA, Ms. Karabo Motaung, who represents the Competition Commission, a beneficiary of the Economic Development Fund. Ladies and gentlemen, Dumelang. As you are aware, the Economic Development Fund was established in 2017 as a result of an agreement concluded with the Competition Commission following its extensive investigation into anti-competitive behavior within the media and advertising sectors. These investigations uncovered historical exclusionary practices and imbalances that limited the participation of independent, small, commercial and community-based media entities in the mainstream market. Established from funds allocated by the Competition Commission, this initiative was therefore aimed at creating a more inclusive and diverse media sector in South Africa and supported young black entrepreneurs, the media and small agencies previously marginalized by high barriers to entry. Program Director, anti-competitiveness in the media sector poses threat to the principle of free and diverse media environment as it leads to homogenized content as editorial lines become influenced by corporate interest or advertiser priorities. The lack of competition discourages innovation and independent journalism, shrinking the marketplace of ideas that is vital for a healthy democracy. Of even more consequence, the suppression of smaller independent media undermine journalistic independence. These outlets often serve as critical voices against dominant narratives and are more likely to cover underreported issues and amplify the voices of marginalized communities. Without them, grassroots reporting suffers, resulting in a press that is less responsive to the public and more beholden to economic power. Ladies and gentlemen, on the 3rd of May, South Africa joined the international community in observing the World Press Freedom Day, a day that honors the vital role of journalists and reaffirms our collective commitment to media freedom. On this day, we issued a statement on behalf of the government of South Africa. And we said in part, as we commemorate World Press Freedom Day, it is crucial that journalists continue to do their work with integrity and courage. We similarly called on all to support freedom of the press. In this regard, our press statement asserts that a robust and independent press is essential to a healthy democracy. Program Director in South Africa, press freedom is protected by the Constitution and upheld as a cornerstone of democracy. World Press Freedom Day reminds us of the crucial contribution journalists make in promoting transparency, accountability, and informed public discourse. It is a moment to celebrate the integrity and courage with which many of our journalists continue to serve the public interest, often under challenging circumstances. As we reflect on this occasion, it is important to acknowledge anti-competitive behavior as a growing threat to media freedom in our country. This form of economic exclusion restricts the public access to a broad range of perspectives and compromises the media's ability to hold those in power to account. In calling all citizens to defend media freedom, we must also commit to ensuring a fair and competitive media landscape that allows all voices to be heard. World Press Freedom Day is not just about censorship, but a reminder that government, regulators, civil society, and the industry must work together to protect the integrity of our media ecosystem. In this regard, our press conference, to which I earlier referred, concluded as follows: government encourages journalists to continue doing their work without fear, favor, or prejudice, sparing neither courage nor effort in bringing news reports to all. In doing so, we reaffirm that a free, diverse, and independent press is not just a democratic ideal, but a democratic imperative. Program Director, in my engagements with the MDDA, I'm happy to see the recourse and the investment in the sector as a result of the Economic Development Fund. This is a great example of how economic regulation in our country continues to safeguard the interests of various key sectors, including our media. Not only has the Economic Development Fund provided essential resources and educational opportunities, it has also fostered a media landscape that better represents and serves South African communities. From the report we are launching today, we can see that MDDA's and EDF's key achievement, including the positive impact it has had on 37 SMMEs, 60 of which are youth-owned, and its contribution to gender mainstreaming. It details the strategic investment in education through bursaries, which we view as a long-term investment and solution. This has the biggest potential impact for fostering leadership change and innovation in the industry. Additionally, the report highlights initiatives such as post-qualification experience, startup funding, sustainability funding, mentorship training initiatives, and the provision of free advertising airtime, all aimed at supporting the growth and development of underrepresented groups in the industry. Ladies and gentlemen, let us remind each other that press freedom is not merely the absence of censorship. It is the active presence of diversity, independence, and fair competition in the media space. As South Africans, we must ensure that our democratic values are reflected not only in our laws, but in our media landscape. Let us support our journalists, protect independent voices, and work together to build a media environment where the truth thrives. Plurality is protected, and no voice is silenced by economic dominance. Let us stand together, united in our resolve, to defend not just the freedom of the press, but the conditions that make that freedom meaningful and enduring. I thank you.
Thank you very much, DM. I think one thing about DM is that is fresh off, they call it breath. What do they call it? Fresh of, oh yeah, thank you. Breath of fresh air, okay. Pella, it's after one, it becomes difficult to express yourself, eh? Hey, after one, hey. I think we're conditioned to speak the language from 8 to 1. So thank you very much, DM. I think one thing about DM is that he has he has some content. You know, we have a deputy minister that really understands the sector and is full of content. I think sometimes he even surprises me because I'll brief him on something, but he goes and extends. And I ask myself, where did he get this information from? So seemingly, DM does his homework, and I think he's really invested on the sector. So thank you very much, DM. So colleagues, now we are going to, I think, the last item for today. I think at this point, I'm also going to exit. So I think before the last person comes, I do want you to give me a round of applause, please. Yeah. Pella, these people that do thank you notes, they forget me and they thank everyone else. Yeah, so let me allow then Ms. Carol Mohlala, the MTDA board member, just to give a vote of thanks. And straight after that, we'll then get Aya. Aya will then just take through in terms of where do we go from here. And then I think that will obviously conclude the session for today. So thank you very much, colleagues, for your cooperation. Over to you, Ms. Mohlala.
Good afternoon, everyone. Let me first apologize, DM, for arriving late. I had a community engagement in Alexandra. Colleagues, this is quite an important day, not only for MTDA, but also for the beneficiaries. As one of the first, the few people that was there at the beginning of the EDF fund, even before I became MTDA board member, but as one of the people that were advocating for this fund to actually serve the people in the communities, to actually be here and see this is quite heartwarming. So to conclude today's event, I would like to thank all of our guests. I see MultiChoice is in the room. We really appreciate your presence. I see BMOA is also in the room. We appreciate you guys. And AIP, also Mekarabo Motaung, we really appreciate your presence. The special thanks goes out to Deputy Minister in the Presidency. As Mzu has already alluded, we really appreciate your support, the way that you support MTDA's work, and also your view of the sector is quite refreshing and it's also quite encouraging. It's very important, I think, in the last person that had the same energy and stride that you had was Jason Mutembu, and to actually see that in this room and see how you really want media freedom to be a cornerstone for our democracy is something that should not go unnoticed. And we'd also like to thank the Competition Commission, Mekarabo, for allowing us to administer this fund. It was not an easy road. There was a lot of back and forth. In fact, as a board, at some point, we were really questioning our own sanity going through all of these processes, but we really appreciate you entrusting us with this process, and I hope that we've shown as the MTTA that we are able and we are capable, and we could be entrusted with such funds going forward. We are also honored to have the EDF beneficiaries in the room. It's quite heartwarming. It's also quite pleasurable to see the actual work that's been done, to actually see the faces of the people that have actually benefited from this fund. So we are quite grateful that today you were here to share this experience with us. Would also like to take this opportunity to thank the MTTA staff. I know Mzu said we forget you guys. We don't. We appreciate you guys on a daily basis. We know that the sector is going through a lot, and at times the frustrations of the beneficiaries land at your doorstep on a daily basis. So we do really appreciate the work that you are doing. We also want to also congratulate you in actually ensuring that the fund gets this far. Last but certainly not least, we'd like to thank the media owners in the room, the members of the media that have come here today to experience this milestone with us. We thank you for shining the spotlight on the work that MTTA does. Our sector faces a lot of challenges, some of which we highlighted in this particular forum. But we always strive as MTTA. We try our utmost best to be that light at the end of the tunnel. It's not always going to be like this. We are going to have a diverse media. We are going to develop all of our community media projects one step at a time. With these words, I would like to thank you guys and wish you a wonderful day ahead.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. This brings us to the end of our event. We're now going to serve lunch, which is going to be served at the restaurant on the ground floor. For all the media who'd like to do quick interviews with the Deputy Minister and all the speakers, we ask that you just come to the front and remain. Everyone else downstairs will be directed by Margaret at the back. Margaret, please stand. Will be directed by Margaret to the restaurant on the ground. Thank you, everyone, and that concludes our event.